So far I've read none. I went to a place that has over 20 bookshops and I didn't buy any books.
Really mixed feelings on this, as you can probably tell.
Am I in the mood for any of these books? So this reading vlog is very much inspired by a video that I saw Kayla from Books and Lala do a few months ago that was all to do with achieving reading goals. At the end of last year I made a video talking about some of my goals for 2024 and then I immediately forgot about them. So in this vlog I would like to focus on at least making some progress with them. I'm going to move across a little bit actually so I can put them on the screen here, but the first goal that I wanted to achieve was I wanted to read more historical fiction. I read quite a lot towards the end of last year and was really enjoying it. So far this year I've read one historical fiction book, so I'm going to read another in this vlog. I also wanted to find a 5-star thriller and I have actually already achieved this. I found 2 5-star thrillers so far in 2024, but it wouldn't hurt to try and find another. I also wanted to focus on reading series this year, and unofficially I was aiming for a 50-50 ratio. So I wanted 50% of the books that I was reading to be part of series, and so far I think 57% of the books that I've read so far this year were standalones, so it wouldn't hurt to make progress in a series or start a new series in this vlog. I also wanted to read some of the books that I got through the Goldsborough Sci-Fi Fantasy Fellowship before I cancelled my subscription last year. So far I've read none, so not doing so well with that goal. And then the final goal that I had was I wanted to reduce my own TBR. So I wanted to make sure that I was reading more books from my TBR than I was adding to my TBR. So far I'm doing okay. I think I'm currently on -10. So far this year I've read 49 books and then 21 of them were from my own TBR, but then I've also added 11 books to my TBR. I'm actually going to start this vlog with some footage from when I went to Hay on Wye last weekend. So for anyone who doesn't know, Hay on Wye is this amazing book town in Wales where there's over 20 bookshops. I've been twice in the past. This was my 3rd time visiting, and I was going to do a whole come book shopping with me video. I took a load of footage, but then I didn't end up buying any books. So rather than let that footage go to waste, I thought I might as well include it in this vlog and show you how seriously I'm taking this challenge. I went to a place that has over 20 bookshops and I didn't buy any books. So yeah, we're going to cut to that footage in a second and then I will give you an update on what I'm currently reading because I have already started one of the books for this vlog.
Been to California, never been to LA, so I'll stay home and write these songs, pretend I'll make it someday. My friends are getting married, they're all settling down, so I'll lay here, watch the ceiling fan go round and round. It's always gone too fast, like a trip to the beach or the life of James Dean. And it kills me to think I'm avoiding the pill I can't swallow.
Here he comes with the pizza.
Haven't seen my twin brother, I keep missing his calls. It's funny just how easily a family can drift apart. I'm finally getting married.
So the first book that I've picked up for this vlog is The Women by Kristin Hannah. This is historical fiction and it's set in the 1960s during the Vietnam War. So we're following this woman, I can't remember her name, Frances. Her name is Frances, I can't believe I forgot that. But Frances, who also goes by Frank, she is a newly qualified nurse who signs up to go to Vietnam as a combat nurse. And we follow her as she first of all tells her family, who are not happy with her. They tell her to kind of get out of it, but she goes ahead because her brother also signed up for the war. We follow her as she arrives in Vietnam and instantly realizes that she's been quite naive and the war is not what she was expecting. So it's about her experience in Vietnam and also about the camaraderie between her and the other nurses and also the doctors that she's working with. So far, this is doing exactly what I expected it to do, which isn't a bad thing. I think that Kristin Hannah is popular for a reason. I've read The Nightingale and The Four Winds by her and enjoyed them both. I think I gave them both 5 stars. Don't know whether they'd be 5 stars if I was to read them today, but yeah, The Women is pretty much exactly what I was expecting it to be. It's not really doing anything more. It's almost like I can pinpoint the exact moments where the author is wanting me to feel certain emotions, and I'm feeling those emotions, but I'm also recognizing that I'm being manipulated in a way. I don't know whether that's the right word, but yeah, this is not doing anything more so far than I was expecting, but what it's doing well. It's well written. The audiobook is also really well narrated. It's narrated by Julia Whelan, who is one of my favourite audiobook narrators. It's quite a long book is the only thing. The audiobook is around 16 hours long, but I'm listening on 1.75 times speed. I'm listening to it through my library app and I was worried that I was going to miss the deadline for when it's due back, but I managed to extend it, which I was surprised at because this is such a popular new release. I was convinced that someone would have a hold on it, but yeah, hoping to finish this within the next few days and then I will let you know my final thoughts. So we have a lot to catch up on because I have now finished The Women by Kristin Hannah. I have no idea what I'm going to rate this. I think it's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 stars. I thought the beginning was really strong. The setting was very descriptive and I felt like I could smell it. It focuses on these women in Vietnam and the horrific things that they saw. I felt invested in the strong friendships that these women built and I continued to feel invested in them throughout the rest of the book. However, I hated the romantic elements and it's a really difficult thing to talk about. I think a lot of people dislike reading about cheating in books and I'm the same when it comes to romance novels. I hate reading about cheating when I'm meant to feel invested in characters and I'm meant to be rooting for a couple. When it comes to other genres, I don't mind it so much when an author wants to explore something that does happen in real life, like people cheat. So if an author wants to show characters making bad decisions, then I don't mind it if a book is exploring that. Sometimes the tone felt very romanticised and it was a little bit jarring. When I wasn't rolling my eyes, I was gritting my teeth in frustration. This book had so many frustrating moments and sometimes I actually really appreciated that. It talks a lot about how women who served in Vietnam were treated. It talked in general actually about how people, when they came back from Vietnam, they were ignored. People wanted to forget about the war and they didn't want to hear about how these people were struggling with addiction and PTSD. So I liked how this shined a light on the women, as in the title. There was one point that made me so angry where someone actually said, in fact it happened a few times where people would say stuff like there were no women in Vietnam, which was obviously not true. I think some people are put off from reading historical fiction because they're worried that it's going to feel quite dry and dense, and Kristin Hannah's writing I don't think is like that at all. I loved the audiobook, by the way. Julia Whelan is just such an incredible narrator and that's why I'm struggling to give it lower than a 3 stars. The best review I saw on Goodreads for this actually was by Amanda and it says, if Meredith Grey served in Vietnam and came home, this would be her story, and I could not agree more. So I'll leave it at that. I think I am going to give this somewhere between a 3 and a 4 stars. Maybe we'll just go with a 3.5. For my series goal, I decided to pick up She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan because this is one of the priority series that I want to get around to in 2024, and I've also had it on my Kindle for years, so it's about time that I pick it up. I have been very intrigued about this one because I've heard some people love it and I've heard people not enjoy it. The first few chapters were a little bit difficult to get through because it's very much setting the scene and explaining the historical context, which now I really appreciate, but it was a little bit like reading a textbook or non-fiction. So I didn't immediately feel drawn into the story. However, now that we've spent a little bit of time with our main character, I'm interested to see how they develop. So this follows a main character whose brother was destined for greatness. So when they were kids, right at the start of the book, they're taken to this medium who tells this main character's brother that he is going to do great things, but he tells our main character that she is going to do nothing. She refuses to believe that and she ends up taking her brother's place and she runs away to this monastery. I think this is mostly going to be a book about survival and about living up to your destiny or not living up to your destiny, or what destiny actually means and what greatness actually means. That's just what I'm speculating right now, but yeah, it's set during a time in China when people were rebelling against the empire, and I believe this is based on a true story. For some reason, when this first came out, I am convinced that I heard some people saying that this is like the Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, but I'm questioning now whether that was actually the case, and what I was actually hearing was people saying this isn't like the Poppy War, ignore any of the marketing that's comparing the two. The main character in She Who Became the Sun is very different to Rin, who's the main character in the Poppy War. Rin is a very unlikable character and she's very impulsive and driven by her emotions, whereas Zhu, who's the main character in She Who Became the Sun, she has this drive where she wants to live up to the destiny that she's taken on, but she's thinking things through and acting logically, and I really appreciate that. I feel like she's a character that you can really root for, and I am intrigued to see what she does next because I feel like it would be quite easy for her to become morally grey. There was a point earlier in the book where I was wondering whether it was going to go in that direction, but so far, I guess because she spent so much time living in this monastery and she's trained to become a monk, I really like the way that religion is being used in this and how people are making decisions based on religion and based on their beliefs. I think that the way that it's been constructed is really interesting, and yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. I'm not quite halfway through. It's interesting because we don't just get this main character's perspective, we also get other people's perspectives, and it's got a lot of military politics and military strategy, which I know some people find boring. I don't find it boring, I find it really interesting. So yeah, this is going well so far. Why is it that whenever I get excited to film a vlog project like this, where I'm going to be reading lots of books and there's going to be different challenges, different elements, why is it that I end up getting sick? I have a cold right now, so apologies if you can hear that in my voice, but I didn't want to leave it any longer before updating you with my thoughts on She Who Became the Sun, because I'm currently 2/3 of the way through this and I'm really liking it, kind of. Sounded a little bit unsure then. I am appreciating this. I think that it's interesting objectively. Like, as soon as I finish this, I'm gonna go out and look up the history that this is based on because it's fascinating, but I'm also a little bit bored and I'm really struggling to focus on it, and it could be because I'm ill, but it could also be the writing. Like, it's such a weird feeling because what I'm reading is interesting. I love that we're seeing both sides of this rebellion. I said earlier that I didn't think this was like the Poppy War, even though it's had comparisons to that, and I still stand by that. However, it is reminding me a little bit of the second book in the Poppy War trilogy, The Dragon Republic, because that has more military politics and strategy, and this has that as well. So as much as I'm enjoying that, there's also been parts
parts where it feels like it should be more intense than it actually is. There was a point earlier where something happened really quickly, like within a chapter, characters went somewhere and then they came back. And I guess it's good because it didn't feel like we were wasting time on something that wasn't that important, but it's just a bit jarring. Feels like some things are being skimmed over too quickly, and also the fantastical elements in this, they're not really adding anything to the story. It feels like it's written in the style of a fantasy novel, but there's no magic system, and it's more like a historical novel with speculative elements. For example, the main character can see ghosts, but yeah, it's kind of like not really adding anything to the story. Really mixed feelings on this, as you can probably tell, but I am going to try and finish this tonight maybe. Like I said, I've got about a third left, and then I will give you some final thoughts. But yeah, this is at the moment feeling like 3 stars maybe. It's fine, I just don't think I'm going to have strong feelings about it once I finish it.
So I have now finished She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker-Chan, and I'm going to give this 3 stars, which, let's be honest, is the most difficult rating to give a book, because I don't think this book did anything wrong. There was nothing I really hated about it, but there was also nothing that I really loved, and I was kind of bored throughout most of the middle section. The beginning was strong, and there were some interesting aspects to do with the ending, but yeah, there was this whole part in the middle where I could feel my mind drifting and it was losing my interest. So it is a shame, because I don't think I'm going to continue this series. At the moment it's only a duology. I don't know whether it's going to turn into a trilogy, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to pick up the second book because I just was bored for most of this book, and I'm so upset because I'd had this on my Kindle for the longest time and I was really excited to pick it up. I usually love historical fantasy, although I will say this is very, very heavily historical. I think if you are a fantasy reader and you want a fantasy book, then the fantasy elements in this were not really adding anything to the story. I think you could have taken them out and it wouldn't have really made much difference. I really struggled to grasp what was driving the plot forward. I felt like it was trying to be character driven, and I did like the characters. There were some beautiful moments between the characters that I really appreciated, and there were some discussions around gender identity in particular that I thought were actually probably the main strength of the book. But yeah, I struggled to really understand what was pushing the plot forward, and there was nothing that was really drawing me in and keeping my attention. So yeah, 3 stars. It wasn't bad, and I think if you have been interested in this, then it's worth picking up. I just don't think I'm that bothered about continuing with the sequel. So for my thriller goal, because I have technically already completed this goal, I didn't want to read and keep reading until I find another 5-star thriller, otherwise we would be here for a very long time. But I have actually just started a thriller that I think could be 5 stars, so I thought I would just include it in this vlog and we will find out together whether it is actually 5 stars. The book I'm talking about is called In the Blink of an Eye by Jo Callaghan. I'm just going to double check that I've got the title of that right. Yes, I have. I'll put a picture on the screen because I am listening to the audiobook for this. This is a debut by a British author, and the synopsis for this really intrigued me because it's a police procedural crime thriller following a detective who is paired up with an AI. So it's all part of this pilot program where the government is trying to cut corners and trying to save money within the police force, and yeah, they've come up with this prototype AI who is basically, he appears as like a hologram and he can access data. So the idea is that he can help the police with doing research and stuff like that. So this main character, who has just returned to work after taking a bit of a break, she is paired up with this AI, and then there's a few other people working in her team, and they're trying to solve cold cases. That's about as far far as I've got, but already I literally read the first chapter on my walk earlier, and it already has really gripped my attention. There's been some discussions around the morality and the practicality of using AI. For example, when they're trying to decide which case to take on first. I don't want to spoil anything, but the case that she thinks they should take on is different to the case that the AI thinks that they should take on, because she's obviously basing it on her gut instinct, whereas he's making decisions based on statistics and the probability of them actually solving the case that they choose. It's all really, really fascinating, and I've actually just finished cleaning the bathroom because I wanted an excuse to carry on listening to it. So yeah, this is going well so far, considering I'm only 16% of the way through. So I've just got home from my usual lunchtime walk, and I've been making some good progress with In the Blink of an Eye. I'm over halfway through now, and I'm still really liking this. I think the AI element is really enhancing the story, because if it didn't have that, then the plot I don't think would be enough to carry the story by itself. It would just feel like any other average crime thriller. But the AI element and the discussions around AI and the benefits and the limitations, I think that's been done really well. The characters are a little bit stereotypical. We're following mostly this main detective called Kat, and she's just returned to work after, I think she was off for a few years. Her husband passed away about 6 months ago, and she has a teenage son who's doing his A-levels, and she's decided to get back into work, and she's assigned to work on this pilot study with this AI called Locke, and their interactions are quite funny. For example, she'll say to him, "Can you give me a summary of what you've just found out in a nutshell?" And he'll say, "I don't know what a nutshell is. I've emailed it to you, but if you tell me what a nutshell is, then I can deliver it to you that way as well," because obviously he doesn't understand certain phrases and he can't recognise when to be quiet. They have like a really fun banter back and forth, and I'm enjoying that. So yeah, it's good. I also, something else that I really like is how this is set in Warwickshire, which isn't far from me. My sister actually lives in Stratford-upon-Avon, and the narrator is doing voices for the different characters who have different accents. So there's one character who has a Scottish accent, and obviously I can't say how accurate that is, but the Midlands accents are good. So yeah, this is going well so far. I'm interested to see what direction the plot goes in, because right now the plot feels like the plot of literally any crime thriller. Depending on how it ends though, like if there's a couple of good twists or it goes in a direction that I don't see coming, then this could get a 5 stars. It's feeling like a 4 right now. I think there are some thrillers where it's more about the journey than the destination, and now that I've finished In the Blink of an Eye, I think that's what this thriller was for me. It was fine. I was enjoying the audiobook. It was compulsively readable. I felt compelled to keep on reading, and like I wanted to see how it was gonna resolve things, but the ending wasn't my favourite. I always hate it when a book has a pantomime villain. It feels really cheesy and overly dramatic, and there were certain scenes in this that I thought could have been better written. I didn't guess the general direction that it was going in, but there was also some aspects of the ending where I thought if this wasn't already a sci-fi thriller with a sci-fi element, then I would be seriously thinking, is this actually plausible? I don't know. Yeah, there were certain things towards the end that made me roll my eyes because I could see what the author was going for, but this felt like an episode of CSI, and I used to love CSI when I was a teenager, but even in CSI there were some cases that the team would work on, and I would think, would this actually happen in real life? Because it felt over the top, like it was dramatised for TV, and I don't mind that so much in TV. But with a book, I want it to feel more grounded in reality. So yeah, I'm giving it 4 stars. It's probably more like a 3.5, but because I really loved the audiobook, I'm going to round up and give it a 4. For the Goldsborough section of this vlog, I have a stack of 7 books that I could choose from. I'm going to put these down because they're really heavy. Of these books, there are 2 that I am more confident that I'm going to like. Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chapeko, I've heard really good things about. This is, I think, a murder mystery involving vampires, and I've heard good things about it. It sounds like it's going to be my kind of thing because I do enjoy a good murder mystery, especially in a fantasy setting. I also have City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which I love this edition. It has beautiful stenciled edges, as with most of these books, but this I've also heard good things about. I've never read anything by this author, but my partner has, and has enjoyed some of his books. But yeah, this I think is giving me the vibe of a fantasy novel that is more about the world. It's set in this, is it like an underground city? It might not be underground, but it's a city under occupation, and I think it's about the criminal underworld. So I am more confident that I'm going to like this and this compared to some of the other books, but I don't know whether to go for something a little bit shorter. I feel like I've been reading quite a lot of heavier, longer fantasy recently, and maybe I should go for something outside of my comfort zone, because these I'm going to read anyway at some point, whereas some of these other books, I know that unless I read them for a vlog like this, I'm probably never going to pick them up. Shield Maiden by Sharon Emmerichs, I did try and read quite recently. I started the audiobook and realised after half an hour I hadn't listened to anything that was happening. I think it is one that I will try eventually, but I'll pick it up physically because yeah, I wasn't enjoying the audiobook. The Immortality Thief by Taran Hunt is quite a chunky one, so I don't think I want to read that right now. Which leaves these 3. So we have Mindwalker by Kate Dillon, House of Marion by J.L. and then The Book of Eve by Meg Clothier. I actually put this on a TBR a while ago and then just never got around to it. It's only a short book. I think it's around 300 pages, and I think it's about a woman who works in a convent. She's the convent librarian, and I think she ends up being, or getting this book. A book comes into her possession, that's what I was trying to say, and yeah, this book has some kind of mysterious secret. I feel like this is going to be quite slow, so I don't think I'm in the mood for it. Am I in the mood for any of these books? I think I'm going to go for one of the YA books because hopefully that means they're going to be faster paced. I might do a poll on Instagram actually and see which people end up voting for, because I could read either of these, to be fair. One is Dark Academia, I think. I'm fairly sure it has a school setting. It says it follows a main character who has lived her entire life on the run in order to hide the deadly magic that flows through her veins. Her secret is discovered, and the only place that can save her is the House of Marion, which is run by her estranged grandmother. And yeah, it is a school that trains their students to enter a society of magical elites. So actually this sounds very similar to the Atlas 6 that I've just read. So maybe I should go for Mindwalker. I'm just talking this through with you because I genuinely have no idea which of these to read, but this is a YA sci-fi about a main character who has a computer grafted to her brain that is about to kill her in 12 months. She's a field agent for this corporation, and I think she discovers that this corporation is doing some dodgy stuff, and it's about her trying to expose that. So I think I'm gonna go for this actually. I could have done a poll, but yeah, I think I'm most in the mood for this, and it's less than 300 pages and it has massive spacing as well, so this should be quite a quick read. So I am 100 and something pages into Mindwalker. I'm on page 116. I've taken the dust jacket off, so this is obviously the naked hardback, but I thought I should let you know what this book is about. Obviously it's quite short, so I imagine I'm going to finish it at some point in the next few days, although I am going away this weekend, so that might put a bit of a spanner in the works, but I am over 100 pages into this and I'm liking it so far for what it is. It's a very fun, fast-paced YA sci-fi. We're following this main character called Sarah, I think is how you pronounce it. And basically this is set in our world, but like way in the future, where there was some kind of event. It sounds like there was some kind of nuclear war, and we now have this corporation called Syntex Technologies, and they have come up with this groundbreaking technology where they can hack into people's minds. So essentially our main character is a Mindwalker. She has this technology in her brain that allows her to reach into people's minds and take over them with their permission, of course. Usually spies or like people committing espionage, things like that. And so there are these spies, these agents that go out, break into buildings, and if they get into trouble, they can contact Syntex. Just double checking that I've said that right again, but they can contact this company and one of the Mindwalkers will take over their bodies and get them to safety. Our main character is one of those people, and near the start of the book she's accused of treason and she ends up going on the run, and she ends up infiltrating this group of people who are working to bring down Syntex. So initially she's thinking that she can get some insider knowledge and maybe get back into this company's good graces. But I think what's actually going to happen is she's going to find out that this group of people are actually in the right, and that the company that she's worked for her whole life, well, for most of her life, she's going to find out that they're actually the bad guys. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen, and I'm pretty sure that's what it says on the blurb. So like I said, it's enjoyable, it's fast-paced, it's action-packed, and it's good for what it is. Like, YA sci-fi isn't my kind of thing, but I can objectively see that this is well written and it's doing everything that it promised. So I'm having a good time with it. And yeah, I'm going to carry on reading, and if I have any more thoughts then I'll let you know. But this is one of those books where I probably wouldn't have picked it up if not for this challenge. This was actually one of the first books that I got through the Goldsborough subscription. I think it was the second book that I got, and I can remember at the time thinking it didn't sound like my kind of thing, but I was open to giving it a try. But obviously I am very bad at picking up books that I'm not like super excited for. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm picking this up now. We'll let you know if I have any more thoughts, but yeah, I'm away for this weekend, so I don't know whether I'm going to take this with me. I might just finish it once I'm back. So it is almost time to wrap up this vlog because I ended up finishing my book over the weekend. I'm really glad I decided to take this with me because it chucked it down with rain all weekend. So instead of going out and doing all of the walks we had planned, we were going to spend all weekend outdoors, but the weather was atrocious. So we ended up playing some board games and reading on the sofa. So yeah, I finished my book. I finished Mindwalker by Kate Dillon, and I'm going to give this 3 stars. It was fine, but I don't think it's going to stick with me long term, and there were some plot conveniences that I didn't love. I think because this is set in such a futuristic, technology-focused world, it meant that whenever something would happen and I would be thinking, how is this happening? How is this even possible? It would all be explained away because of the technology. Also, there was a romance in this that I didn't think was very well developed. It felt very surface level, but I can completely understand that this is not my kind of thing. I'm not the target audience, and I think if I'd read this when I was used to reading YA, then I probably would have liked it a lot more. So yeah, 3 stars. I wouldn't put anyone off from reading it, but it's not really my kind of thing, and that's ultimately why I ended up cancelling my Goldsborough subscription last year. When I signed up, I had this expectation where I knew that it was going to be a mix mix of adult and YA books, but I assumed that it was mostly going to be adult and that the YA books were still going to be suitable. You know how some YA books are marketed as YA, but they still have themes and tropes, I guess, that adults can also appreciate? That's what I assumed the subscription was going to be, but what I found was the YA books were firmly YA, and then the adult books, while I didn't think that they were mismarketed, I felt like the subscription was aimed more at people who are used to reading YA, and when they do want to pick up an adult book, they want something that's very plot driven and fast paced, and that's just not the kind of reader that I am. Didn't think that this was a bad subscription. The editions that I got were beautifully made. It just wasn't what I wanted, and also I found that the books weren't really holding their value, so it wasn't like I could sell them on and make my money back. I mean, I think this subscription is like 25 to 30 quid, which isn't cheap. It's a lot of money when you're paying that out every month. So yeah, I know that I made the right decision in cancelling, but I'm glad that this vlog has made me pick up one of the books, because I still, as you will have seen earlier, I still have quite a few books from this subscription that I need to get to. I am determined to at least try them all, even if they don't end up being new favourites or anything like that. But I am going to stop rambling and wrap up this vlog here. This vlog ended up taking me a lot longer to film than I was expecting. I thought this was going to take me like a week, maybe 2 weeks, and it's now been nearer to 3 weeks. So if you have made it this far into the vlog, then thank you for bearing with me. It's been a busy month, a lot busier than I was expecting, but it's also felt really productive, which is what I wanted from filming this vlog. So yeah, let me know in the comments what were some of your 2024 goals and how are you getting on with them? Have you achieved any of them? Are you still working towards them? I should have mentioned actually that the goals that I ticked off in this vlog were my reading goals. I also had some other goals that were focused more on like my channel and things like that. I didn't talk about those in the intro, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I am also still working on those. But I think one of my goals was I wanted to try and upload a YouTube video once per week, and I don't think I've done that. I think I failed that right away in January, because January was a horrible month. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've talked about in this video and what you thought of them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!